Hello everyone, I'm Joyce Seng. I serve as a research manager in Alpha Malaysia. Our organization exists to equip and serve the church in its mission to help people develop and discover a relationship with Jesus through Alpha. And I'm excited to share with you some findings in our first nationwide research called Digital Evangelisation in Malaysia. COVID-19 has obviously put us in an interesting position where churches needed to pivot online. The aim of this research is to study how Christians in Malaysia engage digitally in sharing their faith. The research survey was conducted from June to October 2020 with contributions from over 1,011 Christian respondents. The data presented is broken down into 4 generations: Baby Boomers, Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z, which provides us with behavioral insights of each generation. We also considered the 3 language groups: English, Chinese, and Bahasa Malaysia speaking Christians. The data was contributed by the following 22 church denomination and affiliation across Malaysia. Now, let's jump straight to our findings broken down into 4 sections. In the first section, we studied church online engagement across generation. When we asked respondents to rate their frequency of attending Sunday church online service, it's interesting that there is a generation difference in church online service attendance, with baby boomers 87% being the most frequent to attend Sunday online services, followed by 84% Gen X. Millennials 80% and Gen Z 20% records as the biggest group attending church, sometimes rarely and never. We interviewed some of them to discover their motivations. Here is a quote from a baby boomer. "I think boomers are compliant and loyal. Brought up this way, we do not rock the boat, so to speak. We do not question. In fact, more boomers are getting used to online now." Here, we see that the motivation of baby boomers links to the value of loyalty. Here's another quote from a Gen Z. "If the Sunday preacher isn't engaging or interesting, I'll watch something else. If the Sunday online interaction isn't organic, I disengage. If I have to complete assignments or rewatch my class lectures, I prioritize that. I also am not happy that I'm not able to meet my friends or new friends." Here, we see that the motivation of Gen Z links to the quality of service production and friendship. In our second observation, while baby boomers and Gen X has the highest service attendance, they are the least involved in church activities online, having the highest percentage of 18% in rarely and never. In comparison, Gen Z is found engaging in church activities in spite of their lower attendance at Sunday online services. This suggests that the younger generations are looking for opportunities to engage in smaller online platforms, either to connect or to serve, rather than just consuming Sunday church content. Church leaders can seize this opportunity to form a culture of serving. In the second section, Yearning for Community, we wanted to find out how Christians were coping when it comes to their mental health state with limited face-to-face engagement. The results were quite concerning. While most Christians are more connected than ever before digitally, we observed that 75% feel more connected in a real-life conversation than a social media conversation. 27% experience a sense of loneliness while being connected through social media, where Millennials and Gen Z were the largest group agreeing to feeling lonely. When we asked the respondents to rate their general mental health throughout the year 2020, baby boomers and Gen X records healthier mental health score, while Millennials and Gen Z had the lowest average. There is a need to increase an intergenerational support where baby boomers and Gen X can offer a safe emotional space for those who are struggling. On top of intergenerational support, a church youth worker described the need for professional training. Here's the quote. "As the youth head in my church community, I found myself and my team unequipped to have such conversation with emotionally challenged teenagers. This made me realize the importance of professional training for these youth leaders." As seen in this section, the need is prevalent, and Christians have a part to play to be a witness. That leads us to our third section, personal faith sharing online. Overall, Malaysian Christians have a hesitation in engaging in conversation of faith online. While 77% would share posts that reflect their Christian values, the percentage drops when it comes to engaging with others in a conversation. Only 49% would comment on the posts of others to share their Christian values, and this further drops to 3% when asked if they would engage in religious debates online. While social media is a great tool for communication, there is a need to provide guidance on how to use the tool throughout the journey of sharing faith online. On the other hand, there is a great opportunity. The harvest is truly plentiful and ready. In our second observation, we observed that there is a tolerance for religious expression in Malaysia. In testing response to Christian expression online, 78% rarely or never receive negative feedback for the Christian values they stand for. 35% would always or very often receive a positive feedback. This is reflective of the tolerance of religious beliefs in Malaysia, where people are known to be courteous, respectful, and tolerant. In our final section, we end by presenting the opportunity for digital evangelization through the church. When asked if evangelization in the digital world will lose its effectiveness when COVID-19 diminish, 64% do not think that this will diminish even when the pandemic ends. This suggests that it is worthwhile to invest in infrastructures, tools, and trainings that will enable the church to seize the opportunity to share faith digitally. Digital evangelization is effective and it's here to stay. Second observation, there is a preference for Christians to rely on church initiatives to share faith. The top 3 tools used for digital evangelization were Online Service en Masse, Alpha Online, and Happiness Cell. These tools operate on a model where the proclamation of gospel is done by an expert or a small team, while churchgoers focus on inviting people to these initiatives. Respondents are likely to prefer this model as it is an easy step to take part in evangelism. Third observation, it's insightful that 91.5% agrees that the responsibility for the digital evangelization rests on both the church and the individual. To end, here is an encouragement from Nikki Gumbo. This is not a moment to retreat. It's a moment to advance because we are seeing that this is probably perhaps the single greatest opportunity for evangelism in the history of the world. We hope you find this report helpful to inform you of the needs of the different generation of the church in Malaysia, as well as the wide opportunity for the gospel of Jesus Christ to be shared across the many available digital tools and social media platforms. We hope to hear your feedback as well. How has these themes been experienced in your church? Which observations are true for you? Feel free to contact us at the following platform. Next up, we have Reverend Miles Tumlin, Vicar of Holy Trinity Bukit Bintang Church, to share with us his perspective on these findings based on his experience of leading his church through this transition. Thank you, stay safe, and God bless.
Hi everyone, I'm Miles Tillman, the pastor of HTBB, and I want to begin by thanking Alpha Malaysia and World Vision Malaysia for pulling together this really important online forum. I know personally as a pastor, it really helps me begin to understand why we've been observing some of the things that we've seen this past year with church online. And it prepares us to seize the opportunities to see the kingdom of God advance here in Malaysia moving forward. Now, this has been a long and tough season for churches. I'm sure you'll agree. It's been at times both exhilarating and exhausting. It's been a series of battles and amazing blessings. And I've been asked just to share a few experiences from HTBB and our church online experience. The first thing I want to mention, and I'm sure you'd agree, is that digital habits are changing. We're all spending more time online than ever before. Google reckoned that in the past year, internet usage globally increased by 60%. And this is not surprising. People have been working from home, online schooling has been taking place, social media has continued to grow. But what I think this means is that outside of work or outside of study, how people choose to spend their time online has also changed. I mean, if you've been spending all week working on Zoom, then an invitation by church to just come and hang out and drink coffee on Zoom at the weekend is perhaps not that appealing. What we invite people to participate in online with church now has to be more intentional and informative. It has to be worth making the effort. It has to be relational and preferably fun too. And what you've probably also seen like us is that when people watch our online content is also changing. Church online means that church is now open 24/7 and people are watching our content more throughout the week whenever they want. Now, there is some evidence that Gen Z, the youth, are slightly less engaged with, let's say, wider church activities or Sunday services than other demographics. But Gen Z are still very interested in smaller relational activities online. Why? Well, this links really to my second observation, which is people are really hungry for genuine community at this time. We've come to realize actually that at HTBB, it's not very helpful to think of our digital church campus as, well, a campus or a place. It's not. It's far better to think of it as potential points of connection with people online. Let's remember that our end goal is not content consumption, but community connection. Our content should be a catalyst to community, and hopefully a growing community at that. And I think there's a really deep yearning for community right now that cuts across all generations. This global pandemic has led to a renewed desire for church to be local. The company McCrindle did a study in Australia last year called The Future of the Church in Australia. And one thing that came out clearly from that is that people want church to reflect and be rooted in the local community and serving that community. The Alpha Malaysia research, Digital Evangelisation in Malaysia, also showed that Gen Z and Millennials feel perhaps less relationally connected to others, even though they're more digitally connected than other demographic groups. So this desire for church to be local and this desire for genuine connection, community and relationship, what it all means, I think, is that small church, or at least small groups within church, are once again cool. People love it. And some of the ways in which we've tried to build community online at HTBB are, number one, through small groups. We call them Connect groups. They meet midweek. And in this past year, the number of Connect groups we have and the number of people in those Connect groups has doubled in size. Secondly, we've tried to provide lots of midweek online content, multiple touch points with people throughout the week, little and often. We say, be short, be brilliant, and then be back. And we use multiple platforms and multiple touch points throughout the week to connect with people online. Barna Research did a piece of research in the US last year called Hybrid Church. And that showed that whilst 81% of people said that they'd rather worship face-to-face in a room with others, 2/3 of those surveyed said they still wanted online church to continue after the pandemic, primarily because they said that they felt that online midweek content would help them grow as disciples and accelerate that growth with others. The third thing we've tried to do is to engage with volunteers. It's very easy, isn't it, when church is online, just to sort of shrink the number of people contributing to the life of church. But all the time, we're thinking community, content, and contribution, how people can get involved. So we've moved all of our filming to the weekend when people are more readily available to come and help. And we're constantly trying to think of new teams online and new ways to help people get involved and make a difference. Even things like delivering and driving around our food bank deliveries throughout the week. Anything to get people involved. We have to be intentional about this. But then fourthly, we've also tried to leverage what we call old school technology, WhatsApps and phone calls. I'm sure you've been doing the same, checking in on people pastorally to see how they're doing, but also importantly, to listen to them. Because unlike when we were in the church buildings, we no longer just bump into somebody by chance over coffee. That feedback loop has been broken. Online church can feel one way. So by phoning up and speaking to people, we want to listen and get that feedback loop in place. Relationship is a two-way conversation. I was talking to Google recently and someone was telling me that in the last year, the two most searched for words in their search engine are the words near me. People want things local again. They're hungry for community. And I think the important thing to seize the opportunity online as church at this time is to try and do two things. To both grow the reach of the church, the number of people that you're ministering to online, but also to strengthen the core of the church so that your core is strong. And I think many churches have either done one or the other well. It's quite hard to do both. But it is possible. You can extend your reach and strengthen your core through digital. So I've talked a little bit about multiple touch points and strengthening the core, but how do we extend the reach through online church? Well, this leads us to the important question, how do we help our people share their faith online? And the Alpha Malaysia research here is really interesting. It shows us that 84% of those surveyed, the people say that 84% have shared their faith digitally. That's really high. And 83% believe that it's effective to do so online during this pandemic season. And I was amazed to see that even 49% of people said that they've commented on other people's online posts about their faith from a faith position. That's amazing. And 25% said, oh yeah, I've led somebody to faith online during this season. I actually think these are extraordinarily high results. But interestingly, only 3% of people said that they'd engaged in some form of debate about religion online. Why is that? Well, obviously it reflects how Malaysian society is tolerant religiously. That's a good thing. But I think it also somewhat links to Barna's Connected Generations study that they did a year ago that showed that Gen Z and to a certain extent Millennials have this sort of contradiction in their mind. They want their friends to know Jesus, but they question whether evangelism is actually a good thing, a right thing to do. How can that be the case, that they want people to know, but they're not sure whether it's right to tell about Jesus? Well, I think it's because they're questioning the current models of how, as church, we do evangelism. And of course, the youth today, they've grown up with this idea of cancel culture around them. You know, if you say something that others don't agree with, they cancel you. Cancel culture is all about people must be tolerant, but actually it's not a very tolerant thing to do. So I think young people who are Christians today, they want a model of evangelism that is respectful, that is relational, that is about listening to everyone and not judging anyone. And all of this done in the context of friendship. And this is exactly the model of evangelism that Alpha and now Alpha Online offers to the young people. We ran a survey called the Alpha Online Early Adopters Survey. We surveyed 207 churches that had tried Alpha Online, over half of them being in Asia. And what it showed is that people say it is far easier for me to invite a friend who isn't a Christian to a church activity online than it is to invite them to a physical church event. That's really positive. And the two most commonly stated things that people were inviting their friends or colleagues to were, number one, church services online, and number two, Alpha Online. So how can we leverage this opportunity? Well, for our online services at HTBB, we've done what we call invite and share campaigns. You see, unlike with a physical service, if someone is invited and they don't come, it's not too late. You've not missed that window of opportunity. The content is still there online. So a link can be shared after the service to a friend to watch whenever they like. And actually sharing the link of a service afterwards is even easier than inviting somebody to come and watch it when it's happening, because no answer is required from the person, and therefore the risk of rejection for the person inviting is zero. It's really easy just to share a link. And the Alpha Malaysia research showed that 92% of people think that it takes both the church and the individual working together to do online evangelization well. So what we've done is we've created evites for all of our services to invite people, but also if they then want to share the link afterwards, we've created sort of like as a format, text content that people can easily just copy from our website and send in a WhatsApp. We're trying to make it as easy as possible to help people to invite and share our services online. But then there's also Alpha Online. People love it because it seems the perfect tool for this cultural moment, touching on so many of the needs that we've highlighted. So it's the church and the individual reaching out with the good news together. It's intentional and informative. There's value for people to come and do it. It's both relational and community building in the small group. It involves loads of volunteers, small group hosts and helpers, people helping with the tech, with the inviting, with the administration. It's both local and without limits. You could have your next door neighbor in your online small group and somebody, who knows, in the US. It helps the church reach more people and different people from backgrounds that maybe meant that they couldn't attend a physical Alpha. It gives people the chance to process the sort of untraumatic trauma we've all been through in the context of community and whilst exploring faith. And it's fun. It's genuinely good fun chatting with others in the small group. And Gen Z and Millennials love it. They trust it. And most importantly, Alpha Online works. That early adopters survey that I mentioned for Alpha Online showed that the average guest retention throughout an entire course of Alpha Online is a staggering 87%. That's amazing. And 43% of guests made a commitment to Christ when they were on Alpha Online. That's brilliant. And we're at HTBB literally just starting our 5th round of Alpha Online in both English, and we also do it in Mandarin. We have small groups in Mandarin as well as English. And straight after Easter, we're starting a youth Alpha Online, and we're just about to start an Alpha Online, even a local drug rehab. So give it a go, it really works. And I believe it's the perfect tool for this moment to seize the opportunity as we move forward. And I believe that as a nation in Malaysia, the church is going to really rise up in this next season, because we have amazing good news for our people and for the nation. And if we do it authentically and in a smart way online together, I think we can usher in a completely new chapter in the history of our nation, and we'll see God do the most amazing things. So thank you so much for listening. Remember, the Alpha Malaysia team is here to serve you, to serve us at HTBB too. Let's take them up on that offer, and let's be expectant for what God is about to do in our churches. God bless.